Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of the Audience Building Bootcamp. As you can see, I am bootcamp ready today. I don't know about you guys.
Yes, so bootcamp ready. So bootcamp ready.
We have a few special guests here for you today. In the first couple minutes, we're going to kick off learning from some other people who you will see later on in the process for those who are plugged into the New Degree Press ecosystem. And then we will also have another author coach joining us later to talk specifically about all of their expertise related to our primary topic for today, which is, sneak peek, websites. But before we get into that, we want to bring in some very special guests. Kyra, would you like to do the honors?
Drum roll, please. That was a very dramatic drum roll, I guess. So I would like to bring in the illustrious Ryan and Heather. Hello, you two.
Hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
So excited to be here.
Of course, we're so excited to have you. So
Yeah,
would you two like to start off and just say who you are and share, like, particularly for the people who are inside of the New Degree Press or Manuscripts ecosystem, how your role will be pertinent to their next step. So Heather, would you like to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. My role is taking care of all the onboarding. So I'm the one that will transition each author, getting their agreement set up, setting up their deposit, and then rolling them into the steps of getting all their pre-sale materials, getting their promotional video or their book trailer, if they prefer, set up, and their book mock-ups, so that they have those materials ready to go for their pre-sale launch. If they are crowdsourcing, their big thing is going to be their pre-sale before they start revisions. However, if they decide to go with the perks side, they're not going to think about promotion until more towards the end of their publishing journey. They're going to be focusing on the revisions after they receive their AE feedback. So they'll be receiving a different agreement than a crowdsource author would be.
Totally. So my name is Ryan. I am a publishing strategist with New Degree Press. I help with kind of determining where authors can go, possibly with their book publishing journeys, and help them get situated into the community. I've probably had calls with some of you guys here in the audience. So I'm happy to be here and be able to kind of share this experience here with you guys, especially in this new format. It's so cool. Very new for sure. I love the music, the intro, all of it. It's all just amazing. So hats off to you two coaches, because this is really, really impressive. This is very cool. And I'm happy to be here. So and as Heather just kind of touched base on some of that about what we're here to talk about, it really is just we're here to help, answer any questions that authors might have about the process, about the program ahead. So if you do have questions that are lingering, that you'd like to chat with somebody about, you can always reach out to myself or Heather. We're available to chat. And like I said, you've probably got connections with me through DM or some other form, because we've had a call before. So you can always reach out to me by that method. Or Heather is on Quip as well, so she'll be in touch with you soon. So I'm sure you'll be able to communicate more with her soon as well. So
thank you both so much for those updates. And again, as you probably see inside of the chat, we encourage you guys, if you have any questions pertaining to, particularly for people inside of the Manuscripts ecosystem, New Degree Press ecosystem, if you have any questions, you can drop those in the chat. And if there's time at the end, like either Ryan or Heather, if there's time at the end, they can address a couple of them, or you can directly message them via Quip. So thank you both so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your workshop. We actually need to skedaddle because we have a meeting here at 6. So we will be available via DM, via Quip. So if you do have questions, throw them our way. We love to chat. We love to talk more.
We love to talk.
Thank you both.
Thank you, ladies.
All right. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm always like, okay, am I doing it right? Here we go. No, that's not it.
Honestly,
There we go. I
it's
had
all
it
an
last
enigma
time.
at this point.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
There we go. Now we're cooking with some oil. Or is it gas? I don't know that expression very well.
There it is.
Yay!
All right. Okay, Audience Building Bootcamp Week 2. Yes, workshop overview today. We're going to be talking about building websites. I highly recommend that everyone have a personal website. It is the #1 place where you can control your digital presence, and it is a great promotional and marketing strategy, especially for authors. We will be talking about the pros and cons of personal websites, having them, not having them, book-driven, people-driven, and so on. The logistics of developing them, I promise you, it's not hard. That's what I want you to take away from this, is that it's not going to be really hard or impossible even, and that everyone can do it. We're going to talk about the different website building platforms, and then we'll talk and show some examples of author/book websites.
Yes, I'm very excited. It's the meme of the week. Okay, so we opened with a meme last week. We're gonna, as a theme, I don't know if you, hence the title, meme of the week. There shall be an illustrious meme every week. So this encapsulates your relationship to your website. It encapsulates the relationship that we have with our respective websites. A website is never done. It's a constant space of iteration. Would you agree, Mackenzie?
Totally. I made an edit to my website today. I have one of the pages is a links page. So if you go to my Instagram and you click the link in bio, you'll come to a page that basically looks like a link tree, but it's on my website, and I updated the buttons today. So there's always something. You could be posting a blog post. It's one of those things that, sure, you can set up a good portion of it and forget it, but you'll find yourself wanting to update as you reach new milestones, win awards, all the things, publish your book. So I know it might feel like we're getting ahead of the ball, but it's a really good idea to set it up now and have it now before you're a published author. Okay, so we'll get into, of course, we'll give you guys a bunch of ideas on what to put on there and all the things. So with that, as we continue talking, I want to bring on another special guest. This is Mr. Stephen Howard, SD Howard, author extraordinaire. You have probably seen him on other videos if you're watching other YouTube videos on the Manuscripts channel. You might have interacted with him if you're on the New Degree Press side of things, but here he is today, and we have brought him on because he is really great at a lot of things, but namely SEO and websites. So we've brought him on to add his 2 cents to a lot of the information that we're sharing with you today. Welcome, Stephen.
Greetings, mortals.
All right, Kyra, take it away.
So the pros of a personal author versus book website. So a huge part of the reason why we advocate for this space is that you can call all the shots. This is your space. Later on, particularly as we talk about your social media presence, is your social media presence as an author important? Absolutely. Because social media is often the space where you can cast your net wide and draw in new people. But social media has its limits. You don't have complete agency over how you express yourself in those spaces. But on your website, it's your rules. You can do whatever you want. Of course, like certain platforms have different like format parameters and things like that. But whatever you say goes, really. So you can change, formats, colors, whatever best encapsulates your brand. And again, speak on that note, we were talking about author brand last week. This is the best place to establish your brand continuity because you have control over everything. A huge component of your author website that's awesome is that you don't have to worry about censorship. This is your own little corner of the internet. Nobody can tell you that you can't put stuff on your own website. And that is huge because different social media platforms do have limits and policy parameters. Some of them are in place for good reason. Some of them are not. It just sort of depends. But your website, your rules. And also, just having a website really is huge when it comes to credibility. When I look up a person, because I will confess to Google and all kinds of stalking via the interwebs. Actually,
You're a
before
normal
I continue
human.
on, yes, actually, before I continue on that, Mackenzie, you're the one that knows that thing about people introducing themselves online. I don't want to butcher that. The one where, you know what I'm talking about? The one where it's like, oh, people first introduce themselves. They meet people online.
Okay, so when you're looking, and so now, and especially in the last 2 years, the new statistic is that 80% of the time when you meet a person, you're meeting them online first, which is crazy. And the other thing to that is a lot of people are very social media phobic, which we will also be addressing social media next week and the week after, to help make that less scary. But one of the reasons is people will often say, I don't want my face all over the internet. I don't want my face all up there and all those things like that. But the reality is that it probably already is, because what happens is your friends are on the internet and they take pictures of you and they post pictures of you and they talk about you and they'll talk about your book and your work and all your things. And so being able to have social profiles is one thing, but having a website where you can have the most control over your digital image is a really great thing, especially when someone reads your book and wants to see more of your work or wants to learn more about you. Wouldn't you prefer that they go to your website and read your about page than see that picture that your mom tagged you in 7 years ago?
Relatable content.
Okay. So cons of a personal author / book / website. You have to hustle for the visibility. And I would love for Stephen to add his 2 cents onto this one and what we mean by that.
Yeah, so when it comes to hustling, it boils down to the SEO game. And if you haven't ever heard the SEO term before, it means search engine optimization. And this is how things are found on the interwebernets. So like if you're going to search for a term like how to write a book, the SEO, the search engine optimization, is what people will use to end up on that first page of Google. And then everybody else is slipped into oblivion because no one hits page 2. So you don't want to end up on page 2. You want to end up on page 1 for specific terms. Just writing, author, guess what? You're never going to get there. There's thousands of articles that do it better than you do. And they have a lot bigger ad spend, I might add. So when you are hustling for this, you're trying to manage your SEO optimizing everything on your website to hit specific keywords so that way you do rank appropriately for the things that matter, i.e., and specifically your author name and your book name. You want to be the first ones found when people search for your book and your name. When people searched for my name, when I first started getting that set up, after I had rebuilt my website for the 4th time, I found out that apparently Howard, South Dakota is a place, which was really inconvenient for me because they had been established and been around for a lot longer. And SD Howard was just a pain. But now that I've crushed Howard, South Dakota into oblivion, now my name is the one that shows up on the top of the search rankings. So it does take time, and SEO is a long game. If anybody tries to sell you on like, I can fix your SEO in a week, they're lying to you. So don't believe them. And that is just the tip of that particular iceberg.
Yep. So yeah, when we look at other pages, for example, like Medium and LinkedIn, they are limited alternatives for article circulation. And Kyra in particular wrote that bullet point. Would you care to elaborate on that one?
Yes. So I could talk about this for a while because I've seen people that are very important to me in my life be affected by this. So Medium and LinkedIn are limited alternatives for article circulation for two reasons. One, because of tone/audience. Certain Medium has a little bit more variety in tone. LinkedIn is very professional leaning. So you have to be cognizant of what content is relevant and pertinent to LinkedIn. Medium has very, very tight community policy parameters, which is overall a good thing, but I've seen it lead to censorship in ways that were not helpful. Unfortunately, for example, a colleague/friend of mine from college posted a very important article to them on Medium, and it got taken down 4 times, and then they ultimately had to get their own website in order to keep the story live. So all that is to say, Medium and LinkedIn are great resources if that is where your target audience is, but then bear in mind that LinkedIn and Medium respectively have policies and parameters where they could strip you of that content on that platform. So yes.
Yep. Yeah. Next one on the list here. So potentially cost prohibitive. We are going to show you free website builder examples. But the reason we say potentially cost prohibitive is because, I mean, if you're a coding expert and you know how to code your own website, boom, all that's going to cost you is your time. But if you're much like the rest of us, we're writers, not coders for the most part. We use website builders. These are things that you probably have heard of and seen ads for, like Wix or Squarespace or Weebly. And we're going to show you and talk about some of those different ones. Some have free options, some do not. Sometimes you get what you pay for. So some might be more graphically design inclined. Some might be more user friendly. Basically, it's also one more platform that you'd have to incorporate into your content schedule. But I think for me, in my personal opinion, it's the most low maintenance once you have it all set up. Like, it's a lot of upfront work, but after that, it's the most low maintenance thing in my content schedule. So just like I just said, here are some of the different website platforms. Asterisks have free options. So Squarespace, GoDaddy, Wix, WordPress, Weebly, and more. I'm surprised I said that without tripping. Stephen, care to add your 2 cents here?
Yeah. So I have varying opinions on every single one of these platforms. And so the best thing that I can start off with is with Squarespace. One, you're going to have to pay to play on it. You are also going to need a domain name. So here's that's kind of where we should start first, is domain names, because that is going to depend on whether you're going to be able to use a free version or not.
Good point. Good point.
So, for instance, a domain name that I use is sdhowardauthor.com, and that will take you directly to my website. That is on Squarespace. If I was doing a free version of Wix, I cannot attach that domain name to Wix. It would be like sdhowardauthor.wixsite.com. And that shows that it is a free site. So if there's a free one, it's probably going to have a .wordpress.weebly.com after your basically subdomain. So I highly recommend using Namecheap for purchasing domain names because, as the name implies, they are cheap. I own like 6. Do I need all of them? No. Do I want other people to have them? No. Therefore, they are mine. And it cost me like $14 a year for a couple of them. And another one cost me like $10. Very, very easy to use and to set up with any of these particular website platforms. So going into Squarespace. Squarespace, I have a love-hate relationship with. It is really good for responsive, making things look really nice on both desktop and mobile. Not as user-friendly when trying to place things in it. It is not drag and drop.
Yeah.
It is place and hope to God you don't screw it up by accidentally shifting something. And then it all shifts to the left. And you're like, what did I do? So I highly recommend tutorials for any of these websites.
Yeah,
but that is one of
everything
my
I've ever learned, you go and watch YouTube tutorials. That's how you figure
absolutely.
it out. They all have really great FAQ pages on their websites too.
Yeah, very, very in-depth stuff. Some of their SEO features are not great. The fact that I can't choose a particular header type or header tag, so that way I'm not freaking YouTube or Google out when they're searching for it, is also slightly irritating coming from a guy who wants to have the best SEO that I possibly can. Selling from Squarespace is kind of a booger. When you get to that place, I would have loved to have sold my my ebook through Squarespace, but I could not for the life of me figure out how to do it effectively. So there are pros and cons to Squarespace. Now the blog feature is really nice. A lot of things about Squarespace are really nice. I really, really like the responsiveness. So I do recommend it. Not super user friendly right off the bat. GoDaddy is probably even less SEO friendly in terms of what you can customize and adjust. So I've only done a little bit of work with GoDaddy. I wasn't particularly crazy about it. Other people have loved it. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't necessarily recommend it. Wix, if you're looking for user friendly and just like drag and drop, I would use Wix, hands down. Wix has come a long way since I left the platform. And honestly, half the stuff that I wanted from them at that time, they've now added, which I'm super salty about. But you can set up a newsletter through it, and you can everything is kind of centralized on Wix. You can change SEO tags to help better and really kind of do some more in-depth and advanced level SEO, which is super, super great. So if you're looking for something that is more user-friendly, then I would probably go with Wix. It is slightly more expensive than Squarespace. You are getting a little bit more with Wix for a paid version than you get with Squarespace with the paid version. For instance, the email marketing is integrated. Squarespace is not. They want to charge you even more money than they already are to use their mailing integrations. So just kind of keep that in mind. WordPress, and people will go rounds with me on this one. I'm not a fan of it in terms of user friendliness, because if you really want to do a good job, you either are going to A, have to hire somebody, B, spend hours learning how to code, or D, just kind of dink around with it until you get something that is semi-okay. And you're like, yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm done. Other people, they can do a great job with it. It took too much time, and it was looking like too much money for me to put in at that point in time when I was starting up to play around with WordPress. Someday would I love to move something over to WordPress? Yeah, 30+% of the internet is hosted on WordPress. That's great until it crashes, and then guess whose website's still up? This guy. Weebly. Weebly is kind of like the second cousin that no one likes, but everybody decides to bring with them to the family reunions, and it's just kind of there. It is even more, I would say, user friendly and low key than Wix is. Very kind of straightforward. It has an integration with Square, which is awesome. So if you want to sell stuff directly through there and just take it through Square, which almost everyone accepts Square, and Square accepts basically everyone, that's awesome. Little slightly jelly that they have that integration, but there was enough of the features lacking for me that I wanted that Squarespace offered. So if you're looking for something that is going to have an integration with a payment platform, so if you're going to think of doing courses or stuff like that in the future, memberships, and you want kind of easy integrations, Weebly might not be a bad way to go. So obviously there's lots and lots of other platforms that you can build You can do a Google website. You can do Namecheap has a website builder. You could do an entire website with MailerLite, like MailChimp. There's lots. These are the ones that we recommend. My website is built through Squarespace. Kyra and McKinsey's are built through Squarespace. I think Emily Vanderben's Wix, if I remember correctly. And one of our other authors who came through at the same time I did, Bridget Smith, she has a beautiful site on Weebly. So it really, you need to look and see what is important to you budget wise, especially take that into consideration of what you're willing to spend. And then just kind of look across the platforms and see which one is going to be a good fit for me.
Alrighty. Thank you, Stephen.
So sad.
I know you've done a lot of research into all of those. So next up, once you've picked your platform, the next thing you want to think about is, what am I going to put on my website? Well, similar to social media profiles, there are differences between an author versus a book-driven website. And so we will kind of explore some of those differences by looking at a few examples, and hopefully the screen share works. So let's see what happens when I click on this. Okay, I'm going to change the tab. Okay, now we are looking at Emily Vanderben's website, which Stephen said was made on Wix, which is correct. Very pretty. And one of the things that you want to think about, so Emily's is particularly, what do you think, Kyra? Do you feel that this is an author-driven or a book-driven website?
I would say that it's author-driven overall.
I would agree with that.
If you were to go to the homepage, I believe her name, I mean, granted, the heading is her name, for starters. So I'd say that a lot of her content that she leads with, even though her content is book-centric, she's pointing to the broader mosaic of her content coming from her and not just her books.
I would agree with that.
Integrated.
And one of the things that you do want to think about when you're trying to think about what to put on your website is, what do you want people to do when they're on your page? Because for Emily, she's got a lot of different tabs of things that people can do. Learn more about her, learn more about her books, read some other things she's written, contact her specifically. If you don't want all that, you can just have one homepage that's just running with a landing page of information for people to check out about you. For example,
I'm trying to remember which example you're going to pull, but I think they'd be surprised.
If we check out, if you look at mine, so I took advice from Stephen when I was working on my website, in which he told me to help with my search engine optimization, I should have more words on my homepage, on my landing page. So I said, okay, bet. And I made my landing page longer. So this is the homepage when you first appear on my website. And if you scroll down, there's some words about my new book. There's some words about my first book. There's some more about me and the new book, me holding books, and all my social things. And if you look up in the corner here, this is my nav bar where you can look at all the pretty things. I like this feature. It doesn't really help my SEO because there's no words, but doesn't it look nice? It's a live feed from my Instagram. It's a cute thing that Squarespace can do for you. So yeah, that is that one. Let's look at, so these are all, jokes on me. These are all author-driven websites that I have the current slide up with these links. So I don't know why I asked what Emily's is, because we know the answer. So next, we're going to kind of look at a couple examples of, hang on, my computer's freaking out. Next, we're going to look at a couple examples of book-driven websites. Words are hard, friends.
Yes, I concur.
Here's the first one. Love to share this one. So Rick Riordan in particular is a very book-driven website. Yeah. And here's why. Everything you see, we have not seen a thing about the author yet. We don't know what they look like, who they are as a person. Is it a pseudonym? We don't know. This is book-driven. Look at all these books. This person has written a lot of books.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. There we go. And so some of the activities that you can do are, again, book related. So things for teachers and parents, fun quizzes and games and things you can do, frequently asked questions. And then in the about is where you get to learn more about the author. So, and even there, it's like, where's the standard about page? I don't know. Let's see what happens here. There we go. You click on that, you get to learn everything you want to know.
Fun fact about Rick Riordan, before he became a big deal with the Percy Jackson series, he was actually an adult mystery writer. Go figure.
Just to show you that, people can change. You can change what you write. You don't have to pick one thing and then do it for the rest of ever. Mm-hmm. So here's another great example. Isabel Wilkerson. Again, book driven. So right away, I love this landing page because it pretty much matches the cover of their book, amazingly well. So that book cover recognition is really wonderful. So talking about the book, more about the book, book, other books by Isabel. And then down at the bottom, you learn more about Isabel as a writer, and then the interviews and speaking events that they have done. So those are our examples for that one. So with that, we continue on. We march forward.
Huzzah.
Okay. So actually, that's really all there is. The homework, as it were. So this week's homework is going to be provided to you for those watching live on YouTube in the free resources below. For those who are plugged into Quip, it is already in your folder, building a website worksheet. Effectively, what that worksheet has on it is which platform are you going to pick? What kinds of things are you going to put on your website? And it's going to just ask you a number of other questions to help you figure out how to best set up your website and what you feel should be on it and get to work. So with that, now we're going to take a look at the chat and answer some questions. And I know I saw one in the beginning, and this is a good one. Is it recommended to just hire someone to build our author website? I know Stephen has feelings about this.
I have deep feels about it. Personally, I don't think it's a clear-cut answer for everybody. A lot of it will depend on whether you can financially afford to pay for somebody. Then it is finding somebody who is capable of doing it, i.e. not Fiverr. Look, I have a love-hate relationship with Fiverr. I've been on Fiverr. I've participated in Fiverr, but don't hire from Fiverr. And it depends on how much control you want to have over your website. Like if you want to last minute do something, guess what? You're probably not going to get to on the website because you have to reach out to your developer who may or may not be busy doing something else. So I recommend that authors take ownership of their websites in as much as they are able to do and feel able to. Because again, it is a never-ending process. I am constantly making small iterations on my website. It's never done, so it's always going to improve, ideally, unless you're on Squarespace and you shoved everything to the left, and then thankfully there's an undo button. But yeah, ideally, you should do it yourself because it's going to look how you want it to look like, and you can make those updates when you need to do it, versus having to wait for a developer to come in and hopefully make those changes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Kyra, do you have additional thoughts since this question is directed at you?
No, I 100% concur with all aforementioned statements. I mean, I feel like it makes the most sense for you as the author to develop at least the basis of your website, but for more complex things like perhaps setting up the ability to sell things through your site, if there are logistics pertaining to that are outside of your control, it wouldn't hurt if you can afford the help to get help with that, maybe, because that's a little bit more complicated. But on the whole, like, most of these platforms are relatively user friendly, and you just get the satisfaction of being able to figure it out. Like, I gained a new skill in building this website. Is it like top of the line, completely and totally excellent? It's pretty excellent. I'm sure that a professional could do better, but I did it and it's mine, and we can all say that. Mm-hmm.
Just like our books.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a great question. So for clarity, Stephen, on what SEO is and how you can collaborate with it.
Yeah, so SEO basically boils down to keywords, thoughts, and ideas, and search terms, really. And the
words.
If you want to be known for author coaching, let's say, like I have author coaching services on my website. I want to rank in Google searches for author coaches. So I have an author coaches services page, and on that page, I have many words. It's kind of like Abraham had many sons. It's kind of like that. On a page, I had many words. And they are specific to author coaching, author writing, mentoring, things of that nature. Long form content equals better SEO in general. And can you give clear thoughts on what it is that you're writing? So it's a balance between having the good thought, explaining it, filling it with keywords that make sense, and that they are also search terms. They're searchable words. Like I could throw in a bunch of things in there, and if no one's searching for it, guess how many people are going to find it? None. So don't do that.
I feel like a lot of SEO boils down to credibility, right? Like proving you're not a robot, writing words, having people that want to stay on your page for longer periods of time.
Yep. Bounce rate will hurt you in the long run with Google. And the bounce rate means someone gets onto your website, and especially the way the dingbats at Google handle things, if it's less than 60 seconds, it's a bounce, meaning that if they leave anywhere between 0.1 seconds and 59 seconds or 59.99 seconds, it's a bounce. And they've left. It means that they want nothing to do with your website. So you have to have good quality content on your website, things that are interesting to your prospective reader that keep them on there. The longer they are on the website, the more Google says, oh, people like this, which is one of the reasons why I highly recommend having a blog on your website, because that will help boost your SEO rankings. And there's a lot of nuance to that. And it really boils down to a website to website basis, depending on what your website goals are. So in the broad context, that's essentially what you're looking at.
I love this question and the avatar. Does it make sense to have a book-driven website if you don't have your book cover or book yet?
I would say yes. And this is what it was posted in the chat, is that it depends on what you want to be known for. Do you want to be known for your books, or do you want to be known for who you are? So for instance, when I'm showing people the differences between an author-driven website and a book-driven website, I go to my website for book-driven, and I take them to Mackenzie's. She's over here. Take them to her website and say, this is what an author-driven website looks like. She's the first thing that you see on the landing page. Everything pertains to her as a person. Me, I'm a hermit, and so I'd rather not show my face in as many places as possible. So I'm pushing my books. I want to be known for the stories that I write. So if you go to my website, you don't see me until you get onto the About page. and the about page is about yay long. The rest of it is my books and my blog. That is what I want to be known for. So you can absolutely do that now. You set your theme. What is the theme? What is the genre that you write? And you start working with that. And even if you don't have a book, if you're like, I want to be known for my stories, then you dig into telling the stories. You build the world building sections. I have whole sections with maps, characters. I'm going to be building the shiz out of the website, adding all of world building stuff. Do that. And if that's not your thing, if you're like, I want to talk about coaching, I want to talk about speaking, my podcasts, the different things that I've been doing, like, then focus in on those things. So that would be my recommendations there. And that will also change how you approach your SEO.
Yep. Ultimately, I feel like a lot of it is thought leadership, right? Whether it's thought leadership in the nonfiction sense or thought leadership in the I'm telling a story sense. Even if you don't have the book yet, don't let that hold you back, because you still have a big portion of something written. You still have a manuscript. You still have a story. So dig into that, just like Stephen was saying, and pull things like show people your characters early. Talk about how you started to write the story in your blog. Talk about books and movies that inspired you to write the book that you wrote. And if you at any point want any more of those ideas listed out, feel free to reach out to any of us and we're happy to list out more of them for you. Will the website only be about your book, or will it be about yourself? So it's up to you, just like Stephen was saying. I would be my answer to that one.
Yeah, it's a both and.
Is it okay to have more than one website, or would one be more practical?
That depends. How much of a glutton are you for punishment? Because this kind of pertains to the same question that we get when people are asking, well, do I have a personal Instagram account and an author Instagram account? The question ultimately boils down to, how much time do you have? How much time do you have to plan content for both things? Now, that being said, people have pen names, so they will have multiple websites. But again, they're typically not doing that by themselves. At that point in time, if you're big enough to have multiple pen names, you have at least one assistant helping you with this stuff. So I would say, for simplicity, focus in on one. And here's the thing. When it comes to author-centric or book-centric, there is a middle ground between the two. And I would say Emily would fall more in that middle ground because it's a very clean website. You see her book, but you see her, and there's not this overemphasis of one over the other. Mine is very clearly an overemphasis of just buy my books and leave me alone. Like, I appreciate it. Thank you for your money and your contributions to more books. But it really just kind of depends. And there's that nice middle ground where it's like, okay, I'm not one or the other. Great. Combine them both. Have equal emphasis on what it is that you are doing, on the books that you write and the fun things that you are doing, coaching opportunities, speaking engagements, podcast interviews. Have it be present on the website. Just give more content for people to be able to enjoy. But because of how complicated and how time intensive it is, I recommend when starting out, just sticking with a single website.
I love this comment. When you first build your website, just start with something you don't hate. It doesn't have to be perfect. Because if you antagonize yourself over whether or not it's perfect, you'll never put it up.
Yeah, and you'll immediately unpublish it.
Yeah, and really that's true for anything. Like, as you mentioned, like, it's true about anything you create.
Yep. This is a good question, Stephen. Does the 59-second bounce mean per page or just staying anywhere on the domain?
Domain is that, at least as far as I understand how Google Analytics reads it, is that if they are on the domain and then they bounce in that less than 60 seconds, then it's a bounce off the website. So it's not the page. You do have bounces from specific pages. If you have I think it's the second tier on Squarespace, you can actually break it down by page, how many people are bouncing off of that. Google Analytics, you can also get nitty gritty into that as well. But I'm talking about the overall picture is just like they come to the website and then they leave the website within 60 seconds, and that counts as a bounce.
Will we link this site to all of our social media sites?
If you want it to be found, yes.
Yeah, if you want it to be
What's that?
found,
100%.
you'll want to link, just like I showed at the bottom of my website. All of my social links are on my website, and then on your social pages, you'll want to link your website back, which is also nice because that creates a bunch of backlinks, which is another SEO term that boosts your visibility. A backlink is a link to your website and also a link to the place where that link to your website comes from, and that connects, and that it's secure and it works.
Yeah.
So yes, if you want to be found, this is highly recommended.
Yep.
I also like this question because this reminds me that we usually do a workshop. Historically, we have done a workshop entirely on, should you sell your book on your website? Yes or no? And we will do, most likely in the future, a YouTube video on this as a resource for you guys. So with all of that, those are the questions we have had so far for today. Yeah, that's a good point. These websites do cost money, so having more of them is going to cost you more money.
Yes.
Definitely recommend only having the one. So yeah, that's all for today in terms of boot camp. And remember that there is a worksheet for you guys to work through. Recommend getting started on your website sooner rather than later, because the more visibility you have, the easier it is for your audience to find you. And that's why we do this boot camp, audience building.
Yeah.
Can I
Any
throw
final
one
thoughts
last
from you two? Yep, there you go.
My big
Boom.
brain stuff right there. If at the very least, all that you guys are able to get done, if you're just like, you know what, I can't afford anything right now. I can't afford to get a domain name, which those are dirt cheap. So I do highly recommend it, at least purchasing it, so that way no one else can claim it with your name, just your name, ideally. See, some other SD Howard, probably that freaking place in South Dakota, stole mine, so I had to tag author onto it. So if you have the opportunity to just do your name, I recommend it. But if you're like, all I can do for right now is free, that's okay. Go to Wix, get something set up, single landing page, a little bit about you, a little bit about your book, a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish, newsletter sign up. Get a newsletter sign up. That's kind of a whole separate thing. It doesn't mean that you have to be emailing people every single day. Please don't email every single day.
Don't do that.
At the very least, you start getting people on an email list who are interested to hear from you. And because Wix has an integration already built in, you can start sending those emails bi-weekly, once a month, however you decide that you want to do it. But you can start interacting and building your audience now. One landing page that you can then work on and build out as you go. But a little bit about you, a little bit about your book, newsletter sign up, start getting people.
And I
Anything
guess
from you, Kyra?
Yeah, I guess my final thought would be, no, you're fine. My final thought would be just to build off of what somebody dropped off in the chat. Just remember that as you plant the seed or post your website, it can change. You evolve as an author. Don't feel like when you put it out there, this is it. It's your grand debut. Of course you want it to be nice. So you don't want to put up anything that's not well done, but you can iterate and you can change. You as a person change, so can your website. And to point back to the meme at the very beginning, your website is never done because you are never, well, I guess not to be morbid, like you are not done.
You're always growing and changing.
You're always growing and changing. Yes.
Well, thank you both for your time today. Thank you, audience, for listening in. And that is all we have for you for now. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. We will come back and address them, or reach out to any one of us at any of the information below. Or if you're on Quip, you can DM us on Quip. That's all for now.
Bye, beautiful people.